Good day, everyone. My name is Justine Nicole C. Belen, but you may refer to me as Nikki. I am currently finishing my master's degree here at Xavier University. Xavier University is located at Corrales Avenue, Cagayan de Oro City, in the province of Misamis Oriental, Philippines. Xavier University, also known as Ateneo de Cagayan, is a private Catholic co-educational research basic and higher education institution. Xavier is operated by the Philippine province of the Society of Jesus in Cagayan de Oro City. Founded in 1933 as Ateneo de Cagayan, it became the first higher education institution in Mindanao to receive a university status a year before its sister school Ateneo de Manila. It was given its present name in honor of the Jesuit missionary Saint Francis Xavier. Currently, Xavier has earned a spot among the top performing universities in Asia in the 2016 QS University rankings. Xavier remains engaged in teaching, formation, research, and social development that promote the pursuit of knowledge and truth, dialogue with religions and cultures, and care for the environment and creation. So today I will be presenting to you my study on tones and modalities in Philippine award-winning short stories, a pragmatic stylistics analysis. This study examined 6 award-winning Philippine short stories using pragmatic stylistics analysis to determine the tones and modalities. The short stories were retrieved directly from a Philippine award-winning website known as the Palanca Awards. The stories, awarded from 2011 to 2018, used the first-person point of view. In literature, tone is the attitude or approach that the author takes towards the work's central theme or subject. Works of literature can have many different types of tone. There may be more than one tone that an author takes towards a work at the same time. For example, a novel can be both humorous and dark, or both sentimental and formal. In linguistics, modality expresses the attitude, beliefs, and general intention of the speaker as to whether the proposition expressed is true, obligatory, desirable, or actual towards the state of affairs expressed in the sentence. According to Griffith 2006, modality comes with 2 philosophical terms, which are known as epistemic and deontic. Another way to see the connection between modality and tone, Simpson 2004 says, modality is concerned with the attitude and ability of the persona or narrator. It also refers broadly to a speaker's attitude towards or opinion about the truth of a proposition expressed by a sentence. It also extends to the speaker's attitude towards a situation or event described by a sentence. Therefore, using modality in a story captures senses, thoughts, and feelings. This study used the stylistic approach to analyze the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories by examining the system of modality, the means by which a speaker's attitude towards what they are saying is conveyed. Different modalities not only highlight the style of different narratives, but also help explain the generic differences of a collection of narratives. This is used to identify the tone of each short story. For the framework of this study, after collecting the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories, we will then move forward to a pragmatic stylistics analysis, which will then help in finding the modalities found in each of the award-winning Filipino short stories, which will then help in identifying the tones used in the short stories. I will explain more of my framework once we have reached to the methodology part of my study. So for this study, it adopted a descriptive qualitative research design. Again, after collecting the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories, we will then proceed to a pragmatic statistics analysis by first dividing each section of the stories using Lebov's 6 elements of a narrative. However, for this study, we will only be using 5, namely the abstract, orientation, complicating action, result or resolution, and coda. After dividing the stories into the namely sections, we will then proceed to the elocutionary speech acts classified by Searle, namely the commissives, declarations, directives, expressive, and representatives. After identifying the elocutionary speech acts, we will then find the modalities of each of the six award-winning short stories. Once we have found the modalities, it is then easy to determine the tones used in each of the short stories. For the results and discussion of my study, we will begin with the results of my analysis, which will answer the first question: what elocutionary speech acts, types of tone, and types of modalities are identified in the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories? For the first story, Disappearances by Alexis A. Elabola, published 2011, the story has a style of a story within a story. An unnamed male character narrates the story as he tells the reader his knowledge, observation, and witnesses, and expresses his opinion of the sad life of the celebrity Rina Robles. It consists primarily of representatives and expressive elocutionary acts, and later only identified epistemic modalities in the story. Story number 2, It Always Breaks My Heart a Little to See You Go, by Ayan Rosales Casocot, published 2012. The story is narrated by a housewife who struggles to deal with her willful son's outburst. She soon discovers that other people beset with their problems cope with their pain through different forms of escape. Her state of flight was to run. Despite her daily struggles, the reader is given the impression that the female character is a strong woman based on the multiple tones identified in the story. The story consists mainly of expressive elocutionary acts and epistemic modalities. Directives, elocutionary acts, and deontic modalities are soon to follow. For the third story, Things That Matter by Michelle Abigail Chu Chan, published 2016, representatives, elocutionary acts, and epistemic modalities were identified at the beginning of the story. This is because the unnamed main character primarily informs the reader about her past experiences with her mother's arguments and her knowledge of her father's life that led to his death. However, near the story's end, directive elocutionary acts and deontic modalities were identified. This is because the main character mainly informs the reader how she currently feels after her latest arguments with her mother and how she reconciles with her. For the fourth story, Disguised by John Bengan, published 2017, the story consists mainly of commissive elocutionary acts and deontic modalities. The story is narrated by an unnamed city mayor who drives around his city. As the reader continuously reads the story, the more she learns about the kind of character the narrator is, which also helps identifying the tones in the story. Fifth story, Misericordia by Katrina Going Gomez, also published 2017. The story consists mainly of directive illocutionary acts and deontic modalities, since the reader is given a glimpse of the life and experiences of a doctor assigned to an emergency case patient. Near the end of the story, the reader identifies expressives and representatives illocutionary acts and epistemic modalities, as the narrator and main character slowly reveals her emotions about how she feels as the doctor unable to save a patient. Lastly, the sixth story, described the rapture by Joe Bert Lazarte, published 2018. The story is narrated by a main character, Nick, a freelance copywriter who is motivated to win a screenplay writing competition for the grand prize of 1 million pesos. Throughout the story, Nick uses idiomatic expressions to describe himself and what he describes as his pathetic and sad life. This story teaches readers a harsh lesson. Things in life don't always go how you want them to be, and that you must be prepared to brace it when it comes. The story consists mainly of expressive illocutionary acts and later on identified epistemic modalities. The second question to this study, how does the identification of illocutionary acts help in finding the modalities in the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories? Searle, 1976, stated that the 5 illocutionary acts are used for speakers to achieve prepositions in an utterance. Griffith, 2006, says, modality refers to the expressed attitude, beliefs, and general intention of the main character and whether the preposition expressed is true, obligatory, desirable, or actual towards the state of affairs expressed. In other words, both approaches are used to identify the expressed propositions in an utterance. Also, after identifying the type of illocutionary acts in each of the short stories, illocutionary acts help determine the kind of modality that should also be specified in the context. For example, commissives refer to illocutionary acts which refer to promises, threats, offers, refusals, pledges, and permissions or approvals, similar to deontic modalities, since it also deals with permissions and obligations. Just like in the story Disguise, it is full of commissive illocutionary acts and deontic modalities, since the main character is a mayor who promises to keep his city safe from danger. Declaration illocutionary acts refer to the change to the external conditions or status of an event, object, or situation. It will then be interpreted as the truth, fact, or knowledge, which is why it is linked to epistemic modalities. This can be found in the opening line of the story Things That Matter, when the speaker tells her mother that she is the breadwinner of the family after her father died, since her salary is capable in providing their family. Directive illocutionary acts and deontic modalities refer to commands, demands, requests, and suggestions necessary to obey or follow. This is shown in the story Misericordia. Whenever the resident doctor gives her commands and instructions to her team of trainee doctors, they immediately obey and follow. Expressives refer to acts, utterances that express the psychological and emotional state. This can be linked to epistemic modalities because there is a reason for the person to arrive at their psychological emotional state. Just like Nick, for example, in his story, Describe the Rapture, was distracted from writing his screenplay entry when he expressed his frustration on how things could have been different for his father's death if the camera lens did not fall from a hole from the camera bag. And lastly, Representative illustrationary acts and epistemic modalities refer to the belief, truth, knowledge, and observation and facts. The short story Disappearances has many representatives, illustrationary acts, and epistemic modalities because the speaker relates to the reader his knowledge, observation, and witnesses and expresses his opinion to the sad life of the celebrity Rina Robles. Third question to this study: how does pragmatic stylistics approach help in finding modalities in the 6 award-winning Filipino short stories? Pragmatic stylistics and modality both deal and infer with the meanings and effect of the use of language in particular situations found in a text. According to Black 2006, Labov's elements of a narrative and speech act theories are used approaches when conducting pragmatic stylistic studies. This study gave an in-depth analysis of each of the 6 award-winning short stories as it divides the story into sections and helps the reader identify the style of the narrative and its progress. It can also be used to explore the linguistic features, just like speech acts and modalities of each story. As seen on the table, epistemic modalities are abundantly used in all 6 award-winning short stories. This means that the stories mostly contain the speaker's interpretations about belief, truth, understanding, knowledge, and possibility-based mentality, and are understood as qualifications proffered by the speakers regarding the level of certainty and of a proposition's truth. It also shows that declarations, expressives, and representatives are the most frequently identified illocutionary acts, which usually determines epistemic modality is present within the context. And the last question to this study: how does modality determine the type of tones in the 6 award-winning short stories? Well, modality can help determine the type of tones in the short stories because it contributes to how strong the emotions of determination and attitudes of the characters in a particular situation are. It can help readers understand the characters' actions in the situation. Therefore, using modality in a story not only captures the attitude of a speaker or character, but also the speaker's or character's senses, thoughts, and feelings. The help of modality gives readers a new perspective in seeing, analyzing, and understanding the writer's messages in the stories furthermore, and how it can help the writer shape his or her story. So to conclude this study, pragmatic stylistics help the reader get an in-depth analysis and understanding of short stories. First, using Labov's elements of a narrative to divide the 6 award-winning short stories into sections, help the reader identify the style of the narrative and its progress. Also, it is used to explore linguistic features just like speech acts and the modalities of each story. Next, using the speech act theory, particularly on illocutionary acts, classified by Searle 1976, namely commissives, declarations, directives, expressives, and representatives, help the reader understand the context of each story. When identifying the types of modalities, the reader's perspective changed and gained a deeper, in-depth analysis and understanding as well as an appreciation of short stories. Indeed, the help of modality could offer the reader a new and different perspective in seeing, analyzing, and understanding the writer's messages in their stories. Modality could also determine the types of tones in the short stories because it contributes to how strong the emotions of determination and attitudes of the character in a particular situation. And that is it for my study. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you continue to have a great day and we're able to learn something. Thank you.